I am still reeling from what happened, and honestly, I'm not sure if I'm the villain here or if I finally stood up for myself. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, used my credit card, a card she had absolutely no business touching, to book a $20 luxury vacation for herself and her friends without my knowledge. Permission. When I found out, I cancelled it, every single penny. Now she's not speaking to me. My wife thinks I went too far, and I'm left wondering if I just destroyed my relationship with my child over money, or if I taught her a much-needed lesson. Tell me honestly, was I wrong for what I did? Would you have done the same thing? Let me take you back to the beginning to understand the full scope of this absolute mess. I'm a hard-working man, always have been. My wife and I built our lives from the ground up, and we've always tried to provide the best for our two children, a son, Michael, who's 24, and our daughter, Sarah, who just turned 22. Michael is a good kid, responsible, working his way through an apprenticeship, saving money. Sarah is a different story. From a young age, she's always had a more extravagant taste. She loved brand, name clothes, expensive gadgets, and was never shy about asking for things. We indulged her, perhaps too much, when she was younger. We wanted her to be happy, to feel loved, and maybe we overcompensated a bit because I was often busy with work. My wife was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and I think she found it hard to say no to Sarah. We tried to instill good values, mind you, about hard work and earning your own way, but somehow it just never seemed to stick with Sarah in the same way it did with Michael. She always seemed to believe that things would just come to her. Fast forward to a few months ago. Sarah had recently graduated from college, an achievement we were incredibly proud of, even though she barely scraped by in her final year. She'd majored in something very artsy, which, while wonderful for creative expression, wasn't exactly a high-paying field. She'd been struggling to find a job in her chosen area, and to be honest, wasn't really putting in the effort we expected. She'd send out a few resumes here and there, complain about the job market, and then spend the rest of her days either at the gym, brunching with friends, or scrolling endlessly on social media, showcasing a lifestyle she definitely couldn't afford on her non-existent income. My wife and I were still supporting her, covering her rent for an apartment she shared with two friends, paying for her car insurance, and giving her a monthly allowance that, looking back, was far too generous for a recent graduate who wasn't actively trying to contribute. We'd had countless conversations with her about budgeting, about finding a stable job, about the importance of financial independence. Each time she'd nod, agree, promise to do better, and then nothing would change. It was frustrating, to say the least, but she was our daughter, and we kept hoping she'd mature and find her footing. Now, about the credit card. I have a separate credit card for business expenses and emergencies. It's a high-limit card, and I rarely use it for personal purchases. I keep it in a safe in my home office, a place I considered secure. The only other person who had ever, on a rare occasion, used it was my wife, and only with my explicit permission and when I was present. It was not a card Sarah had access to, nor was she ever given permission to use it for anything. She knew it was for my business, for big, important things. She knew it was off limits, or so I thought. The first hint of trouble came when I received an alert from my bank. A large transaction, significantly larger than anything I normally charge, had gone through. I immediately checked my online statement, and my jaw dropped. There it was, $20 charge from a luxury travel agency, listed as a Caribbean getaway package. My heart started pounding. I hadn't booked any trip. My wife was with me when I saw it, and she looked just as bewildered. We went through our calendar, talked about any potential gifts or surprises, but nothing. Then a cold dread began to creep in. I thought about Sarah. She had been talking about wanting to go on a trip with her friends, something extravagant, but I'd always dismissed it as fanciful dreaming, knowing she didn't have the means. I called the travel agency immediately. They confirmed the booking was under Sarah Miller, my daughter's full name. The agent was very polite, describing a lavish 10-day trip to a private resort in the Grenadines, complete with first-class flights, a private villa, and excursions. When I explained that the card had been used without my permission, she was understanding but said that since the card had been physically present or the details correctly entered online, it was considered a valid transaction on their end. They advised me to contact my bank and to speak to the person who made the booking. I felt a surge of anger, a red, hot fury that started in my gut and spread through my entire body. I was beyond shocked. I was violated. My daughter had stolen from me, plain and simple. I confronted Sarah that evening. My wife was there, trying to mediate, but I was too angry to be calm. I laid out the bank statement on the kitchen table. "Sarah," I said, trying to keep my voice even, though it was trembling, "can you explain this?" She looked at the statement, her face initially paling, then turning defiant. She tried to play it off, saying, "Oh, it's just a trip I was planning with my friends. It's a surprise for them, actually. A surprise." For them, what about for me, the person whose money she had just pilfered? I asked her how she got my card. She mumbled something about finding it on my desk one day when she was cleaning up my office, which was a blatant lie. She never cleaned anything. She admitted to taking a picture of the card details and using them online. She tried to justify it by saying, "I knew you wouldn't mind, Dad. You always want me to be happy, and I've been so stressed lately, I deserved a break. Plus, I was going to pay you back once I got a job." Pay me back? With what money? She hadn't even landed an interview in weeks. The audacity was breathtaking. My wife, always the softer one, tried to reason with her. "Sarah, honey, you can't just take your dad's card. This is stealing. This is a huge amount of money." Sarah just shrugged, practically rolling her eyes. "It's not stealing, Mom. He's my dad. He has plenty of money, and besides, I'm paying him back eventually." That was it for me. "No," I said, my voice rising. "No, you are not paying me back. You are not going on this vacation. I am canceling it." Sarah's jaw dropped. "You can't do that," she shrieked. "My friends are all expecting it. It's already booked. We've been planning this for months. Without a single word to me, the betrayal cut deep. This wasn't just about the money. It was about the complete lack of respect, the entitlement, the blatant disregard for my trust and my property. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I had my daughter, who had, in my eyes, stolen a significant amount of money to fund a lavish trip she felt entitled to, lying to me, and showing absolutely no remorse. On the other hand, my wife was looking at me with pleading eyes, whispering about damaging our relationship with Sarah permanently. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let her go, hoping she'd somehow pay you back? Or would you have put your foot down, consequences be damned? I looked at Sarah, her face contorted in anger and shock, and a calm, cold resolve settled over me. "Yes, Sarah," I said, my voice now steady and firm. "I can, and I will." I picked up the phone right then and there, called the travel agency back, and informed them that I was canceling the entire booking. The agent confirmed the cancellation and the full refund process, which would take a few days to process back to my card. As I hung up, Sarah let out a wail, a truly dramatic, ear-splitting sound. "You ruined everything. I hate you. You're the worst father ever." She ran to her room, slamming the door so hard the house shook. My wife stood there, tears in her eyes, shaking her head. "Did you really have to do that, John? You could have talked to her, made her understand." I looked at my wife, exasperated. "Understand what, honey? That it's okay to steal from me as long as she has a good time. This isn't about the money anymore. It's about respect, about accountability. She needs to learn that action have consequences. The aftermath has been a nightmare. Sarah hasn't spoken to me since. She's only communicating with her mother, and even then, it's mostly texts full of venom about how Dad ruined her life. Her friends, of course, were furious, demanding to know why the trip was cancelled. Sarah, predictably, blamed me entirely, painting me as the cruel, controlling parent who arbitrarily destroyed her dreams. My wife is caught in the middle, trying to smooth things over, but honestly, it's not working. She keeps telling me I should apologize, that I should have found a different way. But what other way was there? If I had let her go, she would have learned nothing except that she can get away with anything. If I had made her pay me back, it would have been an empty promise, and I would have ended up eating the cost anyway, reinforcing her entitlement. The $20,000 eventually got refunded to my card. I haven't said a word to Sarah about it, and she hasn't asked. She's been staying with her friends more often, avoiding coming home when I'm around. The atmosphere in the house is thick with tension. My son, Michael, on the other hand, heard about the whole thing and came to me, shaking his head. "Good for you, Dad," he said. She needed a wake-up call. Mom's too soft on her. That made me feel a little less alone in my decision. But the silence from Sarah, the hurt in my wife's eyes, it gnaws at me. I love my daughter, despite everything. I want her to be a responsible, independent adult. I want her to understand the value of hard work and honest living. But it feels like this incident has pushed her further away. I often wonder if there was another path. Could I have handled it differently? Should I have just swallowed the cost for the sake of peace and our relationship? But then I remember the look of utter entitlement on her face, the casual way she admitted to stealing my card details, the complete lack of remorse until her luxury trip was snatched away. That's what solidified my decision. I believe I did what I had to do, not just for my wallet, but for Sarah's future. She needs to understand that the world doesn't owe her anything, and that taking what isn't yours has real, significant consequences. I hope, one day, she'll see that this wasn't an act of malice, but an act born out of a desperate desire to teach her a lesson I fear she's resisted learning her whole life. But for now, I'm left with a strained family, a furious daughter, and a heavy heart. So I've laid it all out there. The raw, unedited truth of what happened. I'm still searching for clarity, for validation, or perhaps just for someone to tell me I'm not completely crazy for doing what I did. If you were on my side, if you think I made the right decision, please like this video. If you believe I should have handled it differently, or if you think I went too far, let me know in the comments below and tell me why. Every perspective helps. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.